Now we all know by now that Australia is a nation of SUV lovers. That appealing mixture of fashion and function was just pretty hard to ignore. But what if you want just that little bit more? With plenty of space, beautiful materials and the latest technology, full-size premium SUVs are becoming hot property, not just with buyers, but with manufacturers. So we've gathered 8 of the biggest names, including one fresh new one, and we'll put them to the test to see which one is Australia's best premium family SUV. Well, these days, an SUV is more likely than not to form part of a manufacturer's lineup. So who's in the running? The current sales leader and essentially segment benchmark, the BMW X5, the recently refreshed Mercedes-Benz GLE, the car whose big brother essentially started all of this, the Range Rover Sport, one of only 2 7-seaters here on test, the new Audi Q7, the other, the family-centric 7-seat Volvo XC90. We jump across to Japan for the pretty funky Lexus RX, now a car who's having its first time on test, the all-new Jaguar FPace, and of course the car that puts a capital S into SUV, the Porsche Cayenne. Now prices start from just under $90,000 and go to just over $100,000 for the Porsche here. Now of course that's before options, and as we know, in this segment things can get out of hand pretty quickly when you start ticking those boxes. Over the next few days, under the watchful eye of Kurt here, we're going to be putting these cars through both performance and dynamic tests, as well as assessing their overall value and packaging. Kurto, what have we got in store?
We're going to run these cars through a series of road loops in a variety of configurations. We'll be looking at equipment levels and options prices, as well as fuel economy and other running costs. Along the way, we'll be assessing functionality and practicality of the cabins. Plus, we'll be looking at the use of materials and technologies, and being prestige or premium cars, they need to offer a real sense of luxury and, dare I say, a sense of excitement for the occupants.
Well mate, it sounds like you've got your work cut out for you. I'll let you get testing.
Let's do it.
This is the Range Rover Sport TD V6S. Under the bonnet is a 3-litre turbo diesel V6 with 190 kilowatts and 600 newton meters of torque. Now that's good for a 7.6 sprint to 100 kilometers an hour and just shy of 7 litres per 100 on a combined fuel consumption cycle. The car starts at around $90,000 and this one here's got about 10 grand's worth of options on it. Out the back there's a 784 litre boot, but the coolest thing is, you might see it's sitting pretty low to the ground. The Range Rover Sport comes with standard air suspension, so every time you get out, it drops to its guts, and I have to say, that's a party trick that just never gets old. Well, Kurto, the light's fading, but we're still out here, and we're off the road, but we're not really, oh, Skippy, we're not really off-road, are we?
No, that's right. You know, this is the typical kind of environment, bit of dirt, gravel,
Kangaroos.
And it's the kind of place that you'd, ideally go, with a family to the campsite on the weekend.
It's, I guess, not really testing the extreme prowess of these cars, because as we know, most owners won't really do it. This is a country road kind of configuration.
Absolutely. I mean, this Rangie's got all the off-road modes, but some of these cars don't. So we're actually driving around in regular comfort mode, and essentially just doing this soft running.
Now you mentioned we're in the Range Rover Sport right now, which has got air suspension.
Yep.
Is that giving it any kind of advantage in this sort of condition?
It really is at the moment. The Rangie and the Audi Q7 looking at definite front runners for this kind of stuff, and mainly because of the comfort factor.
Well, let's head back before the sun disappears completely, and we'll keep more of an eye out for those kangaroos. This is the 2017 Porsche Cayenne diesel, which starts at around $107,000. Don't get too excited by looking at this one though. It has about $30,000 worth of optional equipment on it. Under the bonnet is a 3-litre turbo diesel V6, running 193 kilowatts and 580 newton meters of torque, which Porsche say is good for a 0 to 100 sprint time of around 7.3 seconds, all while returning 6.8 litres per 100 of diesel use. Now it runs constant all-wheel drive, has an 8-speed automatic transmission, seats 5, and has a 670 litre boot behind a power tailgate. Tony in a Porsche is pretty standard, but Tony off-road, I don't know if we've seen this before.
No, look, Porsche have done an exceptional job with the Cayenne and of late the Macan. They really are superb on-road vehicles, but how do they go off-road? Well, pretty good.
It's all right, it's noisy in here though. Like,
there's a fair bit of tyre noise from the Advans because they're quite large. They're 295, so there's a lot of, it's a big rubber footprint on the road.
Yeah.
So you are going to get tyre noise, but as far as bump compliance and the way that this Porsche sits on the road is probably better than most of the 7 other SUVs that we're testing. Got a Roo in front of us, or a Wallaby.
There's another 2 up here.
We've got a big one down here.
He's eyeing you off.
Yeah, he's not as big as this thing, but...
But for your testing, I guess we're more used to seeing you on a race circuit. How are you finding doing this back to back to back with the different cars? And I guess it's a perfect sort of soft road environment.
Yeah, look, it's eye-opening. None of the cars that we've tested you would mark as flawed. They all have slightly better facets over each other. And the Porsche, you're right, the Porsche is probably one of the best on-road SUVs in the market.
Well, I was going to say, you've driven everything now?
Everything.
So, any surprises?
Look, the most comfortable cars for me in this group was certainly the Audi Q7 was a big surprise for me.
Yep.
I know it's fairly pedestrian to look at, fairly cut and dry and square.
Yep.
And I would normally go for the more stylised, the FPace.
Yeah.
But I'm really impressed with that Q7. I think it's a very comfortable car.
Well, let's touch base again tomorrow as the light comes back and we'll see how we go on-road.
Yeah, I can't wait.
This is the Audi Q7 and it's a proper 7-seater. Behind the third row, there's 295 litres of luggage space. Fold it down into 5-seat configuration and there's 770 litres at your disposal. Now this model starts at around $96,000, but the car we have here has about $15,000 worth of options on it. Under the bonnet is a 3-litre turbo diesel V6 with 160 kilowatts and 500 Newton metres of torque. It's not the fastest thing out there with a claim of around 7.3 for the 0 to 100 sprint, but it does return 5.8 litres per 100 on a combined fuel consumption cycle, which is pretty impressive, particularly given the size of the car. The Mercedes-Benz GLE 250, the entry point to Mercedes' very successful large SUV lineup. Now it normally starts at around $87,000, but this one features the AMG body styling package and a few other accessories that pushes the price to around $104,000. Under the bonnet is a 2.1 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel with 150 kilowatts and 500 Newton metres of torque. That smaller size allows the Mercedes to return a pretty impressive fuel consumption of just 6 litres per 100 on a combined cycle. There's a 9-speed automatic transmission, comfortable seating for 5, a 650 litre boot, and of course, being a Mercedes, it's chock full of all the latest safety technology. Right, well, a new day, lovely surrounds here in the Southern Highlands, and we're out back on the road in the Mercedes with Mike. Tell us what we're up to.
So we're going to tackle a sequence of fairly challenging, twisty roads. The logic being, we know that most people who have these SUVs do tend to stay in urban surrounds, but it's important that they're all at least capable if they're put against more challenging roads. And I suspect the Mercedes is going to be about middle of the pack, judging on the form we experienced yesterday.
Well, they're nice roads, very pretty roads, but there's a variety of surfaces. We've gone through some nice smooth bits, but you can see along here it's reasonably well chopped up. There's some potholes and we can probably hear a bit of the noise coming through the cabin now. What's this teaching us about the car? Like obviously this one with its big wheels and its sport suspension, what are you really trying to look for here?
Well, the key things for me are how quiet is it? Obviously these cars are supposed to be a serene experience, so how well does it isolate you from road noise, tyre noise and wind noise? How reassuring is the steering? How good is the body control? Does it roll around? And if it does it still feel relatively safe? How sharp does it turn into corners? How responsive is this engine and how quiet is this engine? How decisive is this gearbox? It doesn't have to be a sports car and we don't expect it to be one, but it does at least have to give you confidence and inspire confidence, and some will probably be better than others.
There's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
Anything other than the Porsche, obviously, anything you're looking forward to driving on this part of the testing?
Probably the Jag.
Yeah.
The Jag is really quite a sporty SUV. It's got great steering, it's got a really punchy diesel engine, and it's kind of made for these roads. And if it can keep up with the Porsche, as I hope it will, then it's going to be a damn good thing.
Well, these days it seems that everybody wants to get in on the large SUV game. This is the latest contender, Jaguar's stunning FPace. Under the bonnet is a 3-litre turbo diesel V6, which is good for 221 kilowatts and 700 newton meters of torque. And Jag claim that'll sprint this thing to 100 kilometers an hour in just 6.2 seconds, while returning a 6-litre per 100 fuel consumption cycle. Now, prices normally start at around $91,000, but this one, well, it's kind of gone a bit crazy with the options and has over $30,000 worth of optional accessories on it. The FPace is a 5-seater, is all-wheel drive, and has a 650-litre boot behind a power tailgate. How good's this tailgate? That's a 650-litre boot, by the way. This is the BMW X5, which essentially is the benchmark for anyone looking for a premium family SUV. The 25D we have here has a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged diesel engine under the bonnet with 170 kilowatts and 500 newton meters of torque. It can run from 0 to 100 in 7.7 seconds, but what's really impressive is it can return just 5.6 litres per 100 on a combined fuel cycle. Now, this car starts at around $91,000, and as you see it here with a few options on it, is sitting just shy of 100 grand. Right, well, Curto, we're getting through the cars and we're back in the BMW X5. We last sort of experienced this thing yesterday off-road on the gravel tracks, and now we're on-road on our windy mountain trip. How's it going?
Pretty good, I think. Up until now, it's sort of been the anonymous SUV of the pack, but probably because it's in a fairly honest spec, some appearance mods, head-up display and roof, and I guess in form as in function, in that it's fairly anonymous to drive, in that it doesn't do anything particularly badly. It's not shining, anywhere really strongly, but it's quaint and cute and cooperative.
Well, the next question, I guess, is we're sort of over the halfway mark of running through the cars. Anything that has surprised or delighted today, or anything that has maybe surprised for the wrong reason?
I think probably the biggest surprise of this pack is that if you've got $90,000 and you want a premium SUV, there's so much variety and so much choice. It really is a motley crew of cars, and you're kind of spoiled for choice because there is so much variety. Probably the one surprise again is the Lexus, because it's pretty much the value-laden offering here, and that it has everything for the money, but it's kind of turning into this sort of Japanese army knife of talents in areas, particularly areas like off-road, where you didn't really expect it was going to be so good, I guess.
Well, we'll head back down the mountain here in the Beamer and switch cars again and see how we go. What do you reckon? The front kind of looks like Salvador Dali's moustache. Anyway, this is the Lexus RX350 F Sport. Under the bonnet is a 3.5-litre petrol V6 with 221 kilowatts and 370 newton meters of torque. Now, that's good for a 9.2 second 0 to 100 sprint time, which isn't all that fast. It's also good for a 9.6 litre per 100 fuel consumption figure, which isn't all that frugal. However, it starts at around $92,000 and finishes at around $92,000. This car has no options on it because it basically comes fully equipped from factory, which includes an 8-speed automatic transmission, comfortable seating for 5, and a 453-litre boot. Volvo call that running light the hammer of Thor. How cool is that? This is the Volvo XC90 D5 inscription, and it starts at around $97,000. This car here's got about 10 grand's worth of options on it. Under the bonnet is a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel with 165 kilowatts and 470 newton meters of torque. It'll do a 0 to 100 sprint in just under 8 seconds and return just over 6 litres per 100 on a combined cycle. But the big call out of this car is its interior. It's a proper 7-seater with third-row room for adults. Even behind that third row, you get over 400 litres of luggage space. Folded down into a 5-seat mode, there's over 1,000 litres back there. Now the guys are going through the cabins of the cars in pretty good detail because there's quite a lot to cover in these things and some pretty cool features to boot. Check this out. The Audi Q7 has powered third row seats. You can fold them up, fold them down by just hitting these buttons here on the inside of the boot. It's a great way to do it, makes it really easy and a little bit fun. Now, one of the most anticipated features of the new Jaguar FPace is this. It's Jaguar's new infotainment software called In-Control Touch Pro. And as you can see, it takes up the full width of the panel here, unlike in the Range Rover Sport, which is the older system and has buttons down either side. Now this is a touch screen here. You can swipe through to some of the functions. You can even set up a personalized page there should there want to be some shortcuts that you want to add to it. Now the vision is actually really nice and clear. If you have a look on the camera here, when it goes, it's a relatively high resolution screen, and it's definitely a massive step forward for the Jaguar infotainment that has needed to come a long way over the last few years. It's just one part of the interior of the FPace, so you can see there's some really cool lighting, but sadly we thought it was let down by some of its features. You've still got plastic paddles here on the side of the steering column to change gears, which to be honest is a bit low rent for a car of this caliber. Now while we've got this one free, check out the inside of the Lexus. This is the RX350 F Sport, and you've got these stunning red sports seats which are terrifically comfortable and a really, really modern, stylized interior. Now one of the other things, the Lexus is chock full of technology that all comes standard. This car gets all the driver assists, infotainment and other luxury appointment features as part of the standard packaging, all of which is the sort of stuff that tends to be an option on some of the other cars. Well, the sun is setting on what's been a massive few days of testing, but we're finally here with a victor. The winner of Australia's best premium family SUV is the Audi Q7. Kurt, this was a car that was, its success was measured not by what it did right, but by the fact that it did, nothing wrong.
Well, that's right. And there's so many cars here that were competent at a lot of things, but this Audi was actually outstanding at everything. And it was voted as the car that you'd put your kids in and you could drive over any surface, and it just nails the brief.
Well, it's one of the newest cars here. It is a proper 7-seater, which kind of helps with that practicality in terms of packaging, and it is chock full of technology. So it is would you say a worthy winner?
Absolutely. It's just quite refined. It has the tech, it's got the bling, absolutely solid package.
Excellent. Well, there you have it. The winner of our inaugural Australia's best premium family SUV is the Audi Q7. Now, for all the information and including individual reviews of all the cars plus the full details of the comparison, check out CarAdvice.com.